Hey guys, Jason here with a word to the wise. I'm going to try to move this along as fast as possible. I've done this already like 5 times, if not 10 times. I've lost count. So before I go into a 5-minute monologue here in the beginning, let me just go right to the point of this. The red heifers are going to be sacrificed in Israel. I have heard from multiple channels now this in the next few days. So before Passover, they want to have this done. Now, if you look into the red heifer prophecies, it talks about the reason for it is because they take the ashes, they mix them with water, and they use it for the purifying of the people, the items that will go into their sacrificial systems, and the priests. And you can go into, I think it's either Numbers or Leviticus 19, chapter 19. Just look up red heifers on the internet, and you can find the prophecy. Read all about it. So that tells me that if they're willing to do this and get that system up and running with that water, because once they have that water, they can do anything necessary. And if what they want to do is cleanse the people and the items for a temple, that means they need a temple. If you're going to go into that, well, that means you're looking at Ezekiel. I believe it's chapters 37 through 40, we'll say. And it's Gog and Magog. And it talks about the valley of dry bones. And it shows all the dead bones coming back together and coming to life. Now, it also talks about Gog and Magog coming against them. But it also talks about destruction of Gog and Magog against their enemies. So, in a nutshell, what's the mindset of the people that want to look at this in a present time? Not as in we see it in the New Testament. Those who believe in the New Testament, in Jesus. Because you don't just take... If you believe in just the Old Testament and you want to follow all those laws and the holidays and the worships and how things are supposed to work and roll out, and you got to keep to these traditions and all that, and you deny faith in Jesus, that he has taken care of all of that and washed it all away, and there is a new covenant, well, that's the two sides. So if you think we see New Testament and we see Gog and Magog as the 1,000 years after Jesus comes back, resurrects the dead, which I believe is the valley of dry bones in that kind of context, if you want to, if that's what it's speaking of. I'm not a preacher, I'm not a scholar, I'm not saying I'm a prophet or I have any ideas other than showing scripture with scripture. Jesus resurrects the dead. Those who do not participate in the beast system, Revelation chapter 20. Looking at the valley of dry bones, right next to Gog and Magog, I can only think that that is part of the resurrection. So, you would need then to have some sort of a huge war, calamity style situation that would go on with the timepiece land and their enemies. What does that mean? How does that roll out? How does that play out? Remains to be seen, obviously. If they are willing to get the red heifers ready for a new temple, do they need to have the land, the place for the new temple to be? Obviously, there's a little real estate issue going on over there. There's already some sort of conflicts going on dealing with the ideas of those two parties. What's it all mean? Remains to be seen. Where is it going to go? Remains to be seen. Here, America is going into its own election season. They're bringing forth all this technology. If you follow Days of Noah, he tries to show a lot of the technology, but how do you roll that technology out? Everybody's different. Every culture is different. And so different nudges have to be made to make those things work. If America is going to get nudged into all sorts of new technology in a very fast pace, the best way to do it is through conflict and saying, well, where's your moral compass lie? Because all of a sudden you're not willing to understand what's going on, what we're saying, and how come you're not thinking the way that the majority or other people are? Yada yada yada. I'm not swinging to the left or the right. I'm staying on this path with the Bible. I am not being pulled into any situations. My wife just asked me to go to a church we went to over Christmas time, and there was some of that rainbow brigade going on in that church. And I said, I will not go back to that church. You can go into Timothy and I can read what the teachers are supposed to be doing, the preachers. And if they're not doing that, I don't want to be a part of it. I'm all set. So let me hone this and roll this all down. So if they're going to do this stuff, they're going to have the water for the cleansing of the preachers, the priests, for the items that go into that temple, then they're going to be building a temple. Obviously, that why would going through all this stuff? I mean, they could say, oh, well, we don't need a temple. We just have a tabernacle, a tent. I don't think that's going to be as simple as what they want. They want, I think, in my opinion, I think a temple would be much more real. So if you go to Ezekiel chapter 40 and you look at that with this idea of the red heifers are coming in the next couple of days. I thought this wasn't going to happen until Hanukkah, maybe by the end of this year, or maybe my timeline, because I've been so busy at work, maybe I lost track of the days. But I remember hearing this and hearing it was like a year and a half away, and already it's like, wow, did I just lose track of time completely, or are they doing this a little bit early? I don't know. Ezekiel chapter 40. In the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, at the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year, after the city was struck down, on that very day, the hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me to the city. So, just hearing the 25th year makes me wonder if they're looking at 2025. That's a year away. That's 9 months away. And here they got the red heifers getting ready. Are they wanting to then use scripture and say, well, look, this is supposed to happen, and look what's happening. It's all falling together perfectly. Now, what that means with the 25th year of our exile doesn't mean it has to somehow align with some sort of a thing. But the 25th year of the 21st century, they could say. The 10th day of the month, the 14th year after the city was struck down. Did something happen 14 years ago? Possibly. I'd have to look it up and see, but that just grabbed my attention when it said the 25th year, and next year is the 25th year. So, they already have the plans. They already have 10 times probably the money they would need to actually do this. They probably have all the support necessary to do what they want to do over there. But I also think to Daniel 11 verse 14, and it talks about how they falsify the vision. And I have to wonder, are they going to try to falsify that vision and say, well, look, things are lined up, we move forward? Like I said, they've already got conflict that's been going on for quite some time now, since October. Things seem to be going steady with Russia and Ukraine. A little more conflict here, there, and everywhere could also help move things along without a lot of pushback. Because they could say, well, these things are just happening. We can't stop now. So I'll leave it at that. Just take these things. I just want to put it out there. Just a word to the wise. Don't get pulled into anything. Something might happen. Nothing might happen. But just keep your head straight. It's the word of the wise.